There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise inside the head becomes louder than the world outside. A moment when the doubts, fears, and old beliefs start tightening around the mind like invisible chains. But there's another moment too, a sharper, louder, more powerful moment when you decide that the life you want will no longer wait for you to feel ready. It will only respond when you stand up, take ownership, and begin the work. And that moment, right now, is the one I want you to step into. Because prosperity is not just money. Prosperity is clarity. Prosperity is discipline. Prosperity is mental freedom. Prosperity is that fire inside your chest that says, I refuse to live small. And like David Goggins says, you don't rise to the level of your motivation, you rise to the level of your standards. So today, I'm going to walk you through 5 steps, 5 mental disciplines that can help you organize your mind, sharpen your purpose, and become a magnet for prosperity. Not prosperity by luck, but prosperity by design. The first step to organize your mind is radical self-honesty. And this is the part most people avoid their entire lives. Everybody wants success, but very few are willing to sit in a silent room and ask themselves, what am I really running from? Because truth has weight. It exposes everything you've been hiding. The excuses, the shortcuts, the fake promises to yourself, the wasted days, the comfort zones that became prisons. People don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they lie to themselves about their effort. They convince themselves to trying their best, when deep down they know they have more gears left. When you sit with brutal honesty, you might feel uncomfortable, but discomfort is a blessing. It means the truth is working. It means your mind is reorganizing. It means you are finally confronting the parts of you that must evolve. And once you remove the lies, the real version of you can finally breathe. A mind built on truth becomes unstoppable because it no longer breaks under pressure. It becomes sharper, cleaner, more focused. You can't attract prosperity while carrying the weight of excuses. Honesty is the first door you must walk through. The second step to organize your mind is mental accountability. Prosperity doesn't come to a person who only wishes for it. It comes to the person who keeps score. You must become the type of person who reviews their decisions, like a coach reviewing game footage. You ask yourself, did I win today or did I lose to my old habits? You track your thoughts, your actions, your behaviors. You don't let yourself slip just because no one is watching. You become your own judge, your own motivator, your own disciplinarian. David Goggins calls it the accountability mirror. It's the place where you look yourself in the eyes and say, this is where you messed up, this is where you slacked, and this is where you need to get better. Not with self-hate, but with self-respect. Because when you respect yourself, you stop allowing mediocrity. When you hold yourself accountable, you don't wait for motivation. You operate on commitment. And once your mind becomes accountable, prosperity begins to feel closer, clearer, and more achievable. You stop living in chaos and start living with intention. Your mind becomes organized because every action has a purpose behind it.
The third step is controlling your inputs. The mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant, grows. If you plant fear, you harvest hesitation. If you plant negativity, you harvest doubt. If you plant discipline, you harvest results. Most people want a powerful life while feeding their mind with weak information. They scroll endlessly, comparing themselves, consuming noise, and then wonder why their mind feels heavy and unfocused. Prosperity requires mental boundaries. You must protect what enters your head. You must choose silence over gossip, books over distractions, purpose over entertainment. You must surround yourself with people who don't just clap for your dreams, but challenge you to elevate. You must filter your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. When you limit the toxic inputs, your mind gains clarity. When you feed it knowledge, it grows stronger. When you feed it purpose, it grows sharper. And once your mental garden is clean, prosperity begins to find its way to you naturally, because your actions finally reflect your goals. The fourth step to organize your mind is organized pain. Pain is part of life, Nobody escapes it. The difference is that most people let pain break them, but the ones who attract prosperity use pain as fuel. David Goggins says that suffering is the doorway to a stronger mind. When you run toward discomfort rather than away from it, something extraordinary happens. Your mind stops fearing pressure and learns to thrive under it. When you face challenges, you grow. When you push through resistance, you evolve. You begin to master the one force every successful person understands deeply: controlled suffering. It doesn't mean torturing yourself. It means using challenge strategically to build your mental armor. You wake up early, even when it hurts. You work on your craft, even when you feel uninspired. You stick to your plan, even when it's boring. That small daily discomfort organizes your mind by training it to follow your command. And a mind that obeys your command becomes a magnet for prosperity. Because success isn't built on easy days. It's built on the days you wanted to quit, but didn't. And the fifth step to organize your mind is daily reset. Every day is a new battlefield. The world, your responsibilities, your past, your insecurities, they will try to take over your mind the moment you wake up. So you need a ritual that brings you back to center. Not once a week, not once a month, every single day. It could be morning silence, journaling, a cold shower, a long run, or a gratitude routine. What matters is that you start each day by reclaiming your mental space. You clean out the noise, the doubt, the unnecessary thoughts. You reset your focus. You remind yourself who you are and what you're after. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who have perfect lives. They're the ones who reset their minds faster than others. A daily reset keeps your mind organized and aligned with your purpose. It keeps prosperity flowing toward you because your energy stays clean, your decisions stay clear, and your path remains visible even when life gets chaotic. All 5 steps: radical self-honesty, mental accountability, controlled inputs, organized pain, and daily reset create a mind that cannot be shaken. And when your mind becomes unshakable, prosperity becomes inevitable. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the creator of your reality. You stop waiting for a lucky break and start building your own breakthroughs. You stop running from the world and start leading your world. Everything you want, the success, the stability, the growth, the abundance, begins in the mind. And when you organize it with discipline, courage, and clarity, life starts responding in ways you never imagined. This is not motivation. This is transformation. This is you stepping into a version of yourself that has been waiting for too long.
The journey toward prosperity is not just a journey outward to goals and achievements. It is a journey inward toward mastering the inner landscape that controls every action you take. If your mind is unorganized, your life will always feel scattered. But when your thoughts are aligned, your purpose becomes sharp and powerful. And this alignment doesn't happen by accident. You build it, just like you build strength in a gym, through repetitions, deliberate practice, and unwavering discipline. As you grow in this process, something incredible happens. You start seeing the world differently. Problems become puzzles. Fear becomes information. Setbacks become training. And your mind becomes a system that is constantly preparing you to rise above your past limitations. This is what mental organization truly means: a new operating system that rewires your habits, your reactions, and your direction in life. One of the biggest shifts that happens when you begin organizing your mind is the emergence of mental order. Most people wake up every day and immediately fall into the same loops: old thoughts, old fears, old patterns, old complaints. Their mind becomes a recycling machine for yesterday's problems. But you are no longer that person. When you step into this new standard, you claim authority over what deserves space in your head. You become the gatekeeper of your mental environment. You decide which thoughts are allowed, which emotions stay, and which distractions get pushed out. That level of control doesn't just reduce noise. It creates mental clarity so strong that prosperity starts gravitating toward you because there is no longer confusion blocking your direction. You move with intention. You speak with confidence. You choose your battles instead of reacting to everything. And that mental order becomes the foundation for a prosperous life. Another powerful transformation is the development of mental resilience, a quality David Goggins embodies at the highest level. When you start practicing these 5 steps, your mind begins to toughen, not in a hardened, emotionless way, but in a strategic way. You start seeing challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to strengthen the mental fortress you're building. Every time you face resistance and push through, you reinforce your inner walls. Every time you refuse to quit, your mind learns that you are the one in control. This resilience is what makes prosperity sustainable. Anyone can achieve success once, but only a mentally resilient person can sustain it. Because prosperity brings pressure, responsibility, and unexpected obstacles, and only a mind built through discipline can handle the weight. This resilience becomes your competitive advantage in a world where most people break at the first sign of difficulty.
Once your mind starts getting organized, you also begin to develop something that changes the entire trajectory of your life. Mental clarity about what you truly want. Prosperity becomes difficult to attract when your goals are blurry. But when you declutter your mind, your true desires rise to the surface. You discover the difference between what you want and what others expect from you. You start seeing the habits that align with your purpose and the ones that don't. You recognize the people who push you forward and the ones who drain your energy. You become honest about which dreams excite you and which ones you've been chasing only to fit in. This clarity is a gift. It becomes your internal GPS. It saves you years of wondering, years of confusion, years of chasing the wrong things. And the moment your mind becomes clear, the universe begins opening doors that were invisible before. Another major shift that happens while organizing your mind is the creation of inner stability. Prosperity cannot grow on unstable mental ground. If you're constantly emotional, constantly reactive, constantly pulled by external forces, your progress becomes inconsistent. But when you implement discipline, daily resets, accountability, and truthful introspection, your emotions stop controlling you. You begin to regulate them. You no longer respond impulsively to stress. You no longer allow fear to sabotage your plans. You no longer let anxiety dictate your decisions. Instead, you move with calm determination. You make rational choices. You approach obstacles with a strategic mindset. This inner stability becomes a different type of wealth, emotional wealth, and it strengthens your outer prosperity in ways you might never have imagined. When your inner world is stable, nothing outside can knock you off your path. You also begin experiencing a deeper level of self-respect, and this is a life-changing transformation. When you organize your mind, when you stay true to your rituals, when you hold yourself accountable, when you push through discomfort, you begin to see yourself differently. You earn your own respect. You recognize your potential. You start believing in your ability to achieve what once felt impossible. You stop tolerating people who waste your time. You stop entertaining habits that sabotage your growth. You stop allowing situations that drain your energy. You start valuing your time, your goals, your health, and your peace. That self-respect radiates into everything you do, your work ethic, your relationships, your decisions. And people feel it. They respond to it. Prosperity responds to it as well. Because when you respect yourself, you attract a world that reflects that respect back to you. Another crucial effect of an organized mind is mental direction. Instead of drifting, you start steering. Instead of waiting for opportunities, you create them. Instead of hoping something good will happen, you build the conditions for something great to emerge. Your goals become more structured. Your plans become more precise. Your actions become more efficient. You stop wasting energy on meaningless tasks and start investing effort where it creates actual progress. And this direction becomes a magnet for prosperity. Success loves clarity. It loves consistency. It loves determination. When your actions line up with your direction, prosperity begins aligning with your life's path. You also awaken something even more powerful: inner discipline. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's about committing to the version of yourself you want to become. When your mind is organized, discipline stops feeling like punishment. It becomes a form of self-care. You start recognizing that every disciplined action is an investment in your future prosperity. You build habits, break cycles, and rise above impulsive decisions. You begin operating with a long-term mindset instead of seeking short-term comfort. And this discipline creates momentum, a force that makes progress feel natural. Prosperity begins to follow you because you become a person who doesn't just dream, but executes. Another shift that happens is the growth of mental courage. As your mind becomes structured and strong, fear loses its grip on you. You begin taking risks from a place of confidence instead of desperation. You step into situations that used to intimidate you. You speak up where you once stayed silent. You try things you once doubted you could handle. And each courageous action expands your mental boundaries. Prosperity is never found inside your comfort zone. It lives in the environments that challenge you. When your mind becomes courageous, opportunities that once scared you become opportunities you pursue with determination. All of these transformations, resilience, clarity, stability, courage, discipline, self-respect, direction, are signs that your mind is becoming a powerful instrument for prosperity. And once these qualities take root, you stop chasing success. Success starts chasing you. Prosperity begins responding to your energy, your habits, your clarity, and your structure. You become the kind of person who doesn't just achieve goals, you elevate your entire life.
As you move deeper into the practice of organizing your mind, you begin to notice another profound transformation, the awakening of inner ownership. Most people go through life blaming circumstances, blaming timing, blaming luck, blaming other people. But when you strengthen your mental structure, you stop pointing fingers outward and start looking inward. You realize that every decision, every habit, every belief, every reaction is shaping your destiny. Ownership means acknowledging that your future is not determined by fate or chance. It is determined by the choices you make every single day. And the moment you accept this truth, prosperity becomes less of a mystery and more of a responsibility. You take charge of your actions. You take charge of your mindset. You take charge of your energy. You take charge of your reality. Ownership gives you power, the power to redesign your life from the inside out. With ownership comes the development of mental hunger. When your mind becomes organized, a fire begins to grow within you, a fire that no one else can ignite and no one else can extinguish. It's not greed. It's not desperation. It's a hunger for growth, mastery, and purpose. This hunger pushes you to stretch your capabilities and rise beyond your previous limits. It pushes you to outwork your old self, to outperform your old standards, and to outgrow your old identity. This hunger is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. It drives you to study your craft. It pushes you to refine your skills. It motivates you to break old ceilings and pursue new heights. And once this hunger gets inside your mind, prosperity becomes a natural outcome, because hunger creates action, and action creates opportunity. Another shift that emerges in this journey is mental simplicity. When the mind is cluttered, life feels heavy. You feel overwhelmed by too many goals, too many tasks, too many decisions, too many worries. But when you organize your mind, simplicity becomes a strength. You learn to focus on what truly matters and let go of what doesn't serve your path. You stop getting lost in insignificant details. You stop overthinking every situation. You stop drowning in mental noise. Instead, you start simplifying your priorities, your schedule, your commitments, and your systems. This simplicity doesn't make you slow, it makes you sharp. It frees mental energy for creativity, problem-solving, and execution. Prosperity flows faster toward a simple mind because clarity speeds up decision-making and eliminates internal conflict. Another powerful development is the rise of emotional maturity.
When your mind becomes structured, you stop reacting impulsively to every feeling that passes through you. You stop letting anger burn opportunities. You stop letting fear block your steps. You stop letting insecurity overshadow your potential. Instead, you begin to understand your emotions. You decode them. You observe them without being ruled by them. Emotional maturity gives you the strength to stay calm during storms, stay patient during delays, and stay steady during uncertainty. This maturity becomes a hidden form of prosperity. It keeps you grounded while others crumble under pressure. And life rewards the person who remains composed, consistent, and strategic, even when situations become chaotic. As your mental world becomes more organized, you also start developing long-term vision. Most people think only in hours and days. Very few think in years. But when your mind gains clarity, your vision expands. You begin to see your life as a long journey, not a race. You start making decisions based on where you want to be in 5 or 10 years, not just tomorrow. You invest your time differently. You treat your habits differently. You view challenges differently. A long-term vision makes you powerful because it keeps you moving forward even when the short-term results are invisible. It helps you stay disciplined on days when motivation is low. It helps you stay committed when progress is slow. And this long-term mindset is one of the biggest magnets for prosperity because wealth, whether financial, emotional, or spiritual, grows in people who can think far beyond the moment they're living in.
Another transformation you experience is mental independence. When your mind becomes disciplined, you stop seeking validation from others. You stop living for approval. You stop trying to fit into expectations that don't align with your purpose. Instead, you begin trusting your inner compass. You start believing in your decisions. You start standing firmly by your values. Mental independence frees you from the prison of public opinion. It allows you to walk your path without constantly fearing judgment, and that freedom strengthens your confidence. A confident mind attracts prosperity because prosperity prefers people who trust themselves, who take initiative, and who lead without hesitation. Independence turns you into the driver of your life instead of a passenger in someone else's journey. As you continue refining your mind, you develop a deeper sense of mental presence. Prosperity cannot grow in a mind that is always lost in the past, lost in doubt, lost in distraction. But an organized mind learns to live in the moment. You become aware of your actions, your surroundings, your thoughts. You stop living on autopilot. You begin noticing opportunities that others overlook. You become more patient, more observant, more intentional. Presence makes your work more effective and your relationships more meaningful. It helps you listen better, speak wiser, and act smarter. Presence turns ordinary days into productive days, and productive days compound into extraordinary results. Soon, you also experience mental expansion. Your mind begins to stretch beyond your old limits. You start asking bigger questions. You start exploring deeper ideas. You start imagining bold futures. Once your mind becomes organized, it becomes fertile for creativity, innovation, and breakthroughs. You start building bigger dreams. You start designing stronger strategies. You start believing in possibilities that once felt unreachable. Mental expansion is the birthplace of prosperity because it removes the invisible ceiling you once lived under. When your mental ceiling rises, your life ceiling rises with it. Another transformation that becomes very noticeable is consistency of action. An unorganized mind is inconsistent. Some days you're motivated, some days you're lost. Some days you're disciplined, some days you fall apart. But when your mind gains structure, consistency becomes natural. You no longer wait for the right mood or the right timing. You no longer rely on inspiration, you rely on standards. This consistency builds momentum. Momentum makes progress feel easier, and when progress feels easier, prosperity accelerates. Successful people aren't the most talented, they are the most consistent. And consistency is born from clarity, discipline, and mental order. Finally,
One of the most empowering gifts of organizing your mind is the development of unshakable belief. Not blind confidence, but earned confidence. Confidence that comes from effort, discipline, resilience, and commitment. When you see yourself doing the work every day, when you see yourself rising above excuses, when you see yourself pushing through challenges, you begin to trust your own strength. This self-belief becomes a force that carries you through uncertainty. It makes you courageous, persistent, and determined. And belief is the foundation upon which prosperity is built. Because prosperity follows the person who believes they deserve more, who believes they can achieve more, and who believes they are willing to work for more. When all these mental transformations align, ownership, hunger, simplicity, maturity, long-term vision, independence, presence, expansion, consistency, and belief, prosperity is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you attract, something you build, something you command. Your mind becomes the engine that drives your destiny. And once that engine is strong, focused, and organized, there is no dream too big, no goal too distant, and no obstacle too powerful to stop you.
As your mind grows stronger, clearer, and more intentional, you begin to realize something that changes the way you approach your entire life. Prosperity is not a destination, it is a lifestyle. It is a continuous flow of disciplined habits, powerful beliefs, and strategic actions that shape your daily existence. Prosperity is the side effect of a mind that has been trained to stay focused, resilient, and purpose-driven. When the 5 steps become part of your internal operating system, you no longer have to force success. You become a living force that success naturally gravitates toward. The world begins responding to you differently because your energy is different. Your mindset is different, and your choices are different. One of the most profound shifts that happens at this stage is the emergence of mental alignment. This is the stage where your thoughts, actions, emotions, and goals all start moving in the same direction. There is no conflict between what you want and what you do. There is no disconnect between what you say and what you practice. You are no longer divided inside yourself. You become whole, centered, aligned. And when your inner world aligns, your outer world rearranges itself to match that alignment. Doors open, people show up, opportunities appear. Not because of luck, but because your mind and your effort have created space for these things to exist. Alignment turns your life into a powerful current that pulls you forward. With alignment comes mental authority. You develop a presence, not an arrogant one, but a grounded one, that comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for. You no longer bend easily. You no longer break quickly. You no longer get thrown off by criticism, comparison, or chaos. There is a strongness in your decisions, a certainty in your walk, and a clarity in your direction. People sense it. Life responds to it. Prosperity grows around it. Authority gives you control over your path, not because you dominate others, but because you master yourself. When you are the authority of your own mind, no external force can control the way you think, feel, or act. Another extraordinary evolution is the rise of mental rhythm. This is when your discipline transforms into a flow, your habits become automatic, and your performance becomes consistent. You wake up with intention, you work with focus, you rest with purpose. Your mind, body, and environment fall into a pattern that fuels your growth instead of limiting it. Rhythm is the invisible engine behind long-term success. It keeps you moving forward without burning out, without collapsing, without losing direction. It replaces chaos with structure. It replaces confusion with clarity. And this rhythm is one of the strongest signals of prosperity, because prosperity thrives where there is consistency and clarity. As your mind organizes itself further, you begin to create something rare and extremely valuable: mental sovereignty. This is the stage where you are no longer influenced by trends, noise, or emotional turbulence. You stop being manipulated by negativity. You stop being controlled by distractions. You stop allowing the world to decide how you feel. Instead, you decide how you show up, how you speak, how you think, how you respond. Sovereignty gives you complete dominion over your internal world.
and that dominion becomes the birthplace of unshakable confidence. A sovereign mind is undefeated not because it avoids battles, but because it chooses its battles wisely and fights them with a clear, strong spirit. At this point in your journey, you also begin cultivating mental abundance. Abundance is not just about wealth, it is about believing that opportunities are endless, solutions are everywhere, and growth is always possible. When your mind becomes abundant, you stop operating from scarcity. You stop clinging to fear. You stop thinking small. Instead, you start taking bold steps because you trust your ability to adapt, learn, and overcome. Abundance opens up creativity. It expands your vision. It empowers your decisions. Prosperity flows easily to an abundant mind because abundance removes the mental blocks that once kept you stuck in cycles of doubt and fear. You also develop mental freedom, a state where you no longer feel trapped by your past or limited by your circumstances. You free yourself from old narratives that once defined you. You stop carrying the weight of childhood fear, past failure, or old heartbreak. Freedom gives you the mental oxygen to breathe, grow, and reinvent yourself. It allows you to step into new environments with confidence and create new identities that align with your purpose. Freedom removes the invisible chains that once held you back and gives you the space to build a prosperous life on your own terms. Another powerful outcome of organizing the mind is the growth of mental influence. As you become more stable, more focused, and more self-aware, your presence begins to affect others. You inspire people without even trying. You motivate others through your discipline. You lead by example. People notice your mindset, your habits, your energy, and they start elevating themselves just by being around you. This influence is a form of prosperity itself. It is a wealth that cannot be measured by money, but by impact. When your mind becomes powerful, your entire environment rises with you.
At this point, you also begin to experience mental peace, not because your life becomes easy, but because your mind becomes trained. You learn to remain calm even during storms. You learn to breathe through uncertainty. You learn to trust your strength, your vision, and your discipline. Peace is not the absence of challenges. It is the ability to remain centered while facing them. And when your mind reaches this level of peace, prosperity becomes sustainable because the level of inner stability you carry can withstand any outer chaos. You also start experiencing mental expansion of identity. You no longer see yourself as the person you once were. You no longer define yourself by your mistakes, your failures, or your limitations. You start seeing yourself as a builder, a creator, a warrior, a strategist, someone capable of designing the life they truly want. This new identity is powerful because identity is destiny. You always act according to who you believe you are. When your identity expands, your actions expand, your goals expand, your life expands. Prosperity follows identity, and once your identity becomes limitless, your results become extraordinary. And finally, after all the steps, all the discipline, all the mental training, you arrive at the most important transformation of all, mental mastery. This is the stage where you control your focus, direct your emotions, align your decisions, and move through life with clarity and purpose. Mastery doesn't mean perfection. It means you have developed enough awareness, discipline, and strength to guide your life with intention. You are no longer at the mercy of chaos. You are no longer confined by your past. You are no longer controlled by fear. You are the master of your mind. And when you master your mind, you master your future. These 5 steps, radical self-honesty, mental accountability, controlled inputs, organized pain, and daily reset, are not just practices. They are tools. They are weapons. They are the blueprint for a powerful life. When you integrate them deeply, prosperity is not just attracted, it is created, built, sustained, and expanded. So stand tall. Step forward. Take command of your mind. Because once your mind becomes organized, your life becomes limitless. The path to prosperity is already in front of you, and now you finally have the mental strength to walk it.